Welcome to the Infill Podcast, where we interview the most interesting members of the 3D printing and maker communities, live and with audience participation. And now, here is your host, Jonathan Levy.
Hello, everybody, and welcome. Really excited to have you all on the very first official real episode of the Infill Podcast. Thank you guys all for tuning in live or otherwise. I'm really excited about today's episode. I'm going to share the guest with you in just one moment. Before we do that, and before we get started, I have to give a big shout out to today's sponsor, which is PCBWay, who agreed to sponsor this new show, Sight Unseen, which was amazing of them. They support so many different things in the community, so many different channels. For those of you looking to upgrade your projects, add PCBs, but also sheet metal printing, 3D printing in resin, industrial 3D printing, injection molding, and much more, make sure to check out PCBWay.com, and we'll put a link in the description. And now, let me tell you all about today's guest, who is so patiently waiting in the waiting room here. Quinn Damerell is the creator of OctoEverywhere. He is a software developer by day and a 3D printing enthusiast and a massive supporter of the 3D printing community by night. Quinn knows a lot about 3D printing, but also a lot about print failure detection, remote accessing of printers, time-lapsing, and many different things. So I'm really excited to get to know him, and I will be checking in the chat periodically to add questions so that towards the end, you all can ask your questions. Ladies and gentlemen, help me welcome Mr. Quinn Damerell. Hey, Quinn, welcome.
Hi, how you doing?
Absolutely awesome.
There's already a lot of activity in there.
A ton, and it's really exciting. This is my first time doing live podcasts, and it's really exciting to have the audience interaction. I hope my ADD doesn't act up too much and prevent me from actually concentrating on the conversation. Quinn, for those who are listening in the audience and don't know about you, haven't interacted with you in the past like I have, tell us a little bit about yourself. I've tried to kind of give a little bit of a bio, but I'm sure there's much more to it. So, yeah.
Hey, Rav, this is life.
Yeah.
We're both just firing off the cuff. So my name's Quinn. I have been in software engineering now for, I think, about 10 years. I graduated from Purdue University in computer science. So I got started in 3D printing I think it was about 4 years ago now, because my wife got me a 3D printer for Father's Day. It was completely random. I've always liked playing with little electronics and building things in the garage, just little projects, like little bots and Arduino-based things, Raspberry Pi-based things. So she got me a 3D printer. I was like, that was a great idea, because I never thought about it. Put it together. I loved it. Like hot second later, I got into Octoprint because, Octoprint's amazing. Yeah. It's an Ender 3 Pro. It's actually, I don't know if you can see on the camera, but it's behind me.
So we all remember our first, right?
Yeah. Oh, I mean, of course, I modded the heck out of it. So like all the blue components on there, all the things I 3D print. The first thing you do, of course, when you get a new printer is 3D print all the mods for it. So
naturally, yeah.
So I put Octoprint on there, and was loving that. And that was back a while ago, when Octoprint was like, hey, like people wanted remote access and there was like limited options. And I had this idea, and I had never really done like a service before, but I was like, I feel like I could just take the web proxy them through a server, and then I could get like access to my full portal. Cause I actually did port forward my Octoprint for a while, which is a terrible idea. It was always a terrible idea. It was a little
I want to get into that.
Yeah, but so I did that, and then I made the service. I put it out on the Octoprint discussion like forum. It actually got so much activity, it like killed the service for like a week. People just kept like trying to hit it, and it just kept dying. And then I just kind of, I realized like, okay, and I pretty much rewrote the thing because it was very prototypey. And then kind of built it into what it is today. And yeah, it's been a crazy journey. Like I said, my goal, I've given myself like a mission of OctoEverywhere. It's just to empower the maker community with cloud connected printing. So, the goal is free remote access, and then all the rest of the features that we've added, AI failure detection, notifications, and all kinds of stuff.
Your goal is empower the maker community to be makers and still go outside, which is
Yeah,
amazing.
yeah, basically, yeah.
The
Well,
only
it's
way
like
I
you
make
have
it
this 3D
outside is
printer.
because I have remote access to my printers and I can,
Exactly. So you have these 3D printers, they take like 18 hours to print, and it's like, I
right.
wanna go get coffee or something, and I wanna, like, watch the thing, and it's fun. I mean, one
So
of the things
fun.
I enjoy most about 3D printing is just watching it as it goes, just, like,
Yeah.
checking in every half hour in the app and checking it out, so,
It's so
yeah,
much
it's fun.
fun. Now, you really quickly before we go on from your bio, you're a software developer by day. You do this as a side hustle just because you're passionate about it, right?
Yeah, yeah. So I've always had a side project. I had a Windows Phone a long time ago, and I made this Reddit app for Windows Phone called Bake It, which is like one of the most popular Reddit apps on Windows Phone. Now, Windows Phone is a small subset of phones,
Right.
obviously, but so I've always just had something I kind of work on the side. And this is kind of perfect because like the 3D printing community of any community I've ever seen is so like giving, and like
Yes.
almost everything is open source, free
Yes.
models, websites, software, printers. Like the only thing you really have to pay for is the printer and the filament, right.
Right.
And so to me it was like I had all this stuff I was using for free, the slicer and everything, and I was like, this is my contribution to that community,
So cool.
basically.
So
Yeah.
cool. And I feel the same way about this. And I always joke like it's so I'm a big Bitcoin guy. I really believe in Bitcoin, not crypto. Before people in the
Yeah.
comments go crazy, but it's the same ethos, right? Because Bitcoin is this open source thing that we all share, and it's like, you want to make a living. I want to make a living doing the things I love, which is talking about Bitcoin, 3D printing things, and talking about 3D printing. And at the same time,
Yeah.
it's like you're standing on the shoulders of giants when like Marlin is free and open source, and then it's like, well,
Yeah.
how can I make an online course about 3D printing and sell it when like everything is free, not just ethos wise, but like ethics wise. You know what I mean? Like it doesn't feel right to charge people money.
Yeah.
So I think that's, unless
Oh
you
yeah.
need to.
Jim is a huge contributor to Octoprint and has a million plugins he's written, like a lot of the big ones. So
That's
yeah,
awesome.
hats off to
Welcome,
you, Jim.
Jim. I didn't realize you can see the chat too. That's super cool.
I have it open on. I just have the YouTube chat open on the side. Yeah.
Okay. That's awesome. That's
Yeah.
awesome. Welcome. We're learning as we go. Now, I do want to ask because every time, right? So you guys have generously sponsored a video. Obico has generously sponsored a video. One thing that I love about both you and Ken is you both speak very highly of each other, which I knew you both have a lot of integrity. Where I was like, hey, I think I'm going to give them a chance and give you a chance. And, I like both of your services. I use them both. And you both were like, yeah, awesome guy. Go for it. No worries. So just give a shout out to Obico as well.
Yeah.
One thing that people always mention when I talk about your service, which I love, and Obico, which I love, is why don't you just do tail scale or just open ports on your router? And you immediately address that, which was that's a terrible idea.
Yes.
Now,
Ports,
for
no.
me, I know why that's a huge bad idea, and that's because I run a Bitcoin full node on the same internet as my printers, and there's absolute, I run a Lightning node, Bitcoin node. There's absolutely no way I'm opening any aspect of my internet whatsoever. But for the average person, why does that matter?
Yeah. Well, I mean, you're like the perfect example. So port forwarding on your router basically means that you have a public IP address to the internet that anyone on the internet can hit. You can ping an IP. You can even type it in your browser. There's nothing there, so it won't do anything. But you can expose a port through that, which basically makes it so that if anyone hits that public IP, your router, instead of blocking the connection, will send it to a pre-assigned device. And what that does is it basically puts your Octoprint server on the internet, so anyone can access it. The big problem is that Octoprint has never been designed to do that. And it's absolutely like, it's a great system, and it has, it has a user login system and all that, but it's not internet facing strong. Like it's not designed to do that. And basically it's easy to find exploits in systems like this. People who really want to will find exploits and will sit on exploits and won't tell Gina, the developer, about them because they want to. On the internet, basically someone could probably take over your Octoprint device, which basically gives them access to your Raspberry Pi. And now they have access to a full computer on your internal network on your home, which a lot of other devices on your internal network will trust devices on the local LAN because it assumes they're not malicious or compromised. So from there, a hacker could jump to, they could kind of monitor your network activity. They could definitely monitor your 3D printer. They could mess with your 3D printer, make it, get too hot, heat up, print stuff, whatever. And even worse than that, maybe they could find an exploit on your home router has an exploit on it. Maybe if it didn't update the firmware.
Yeah, how many of us
just
update our routers?
Yeah,
right?
yeah, I know, right? Well,
It's like reading the
luckily most of
iTunes
them update.
service, you know?
Yeah, basically. So yeah, there are other great options. VPN, Tailscale. So Tailscale is like a really modern way of doing it, and I've heard
Hmm.
really great things about it. I've actually never personally done it myself. VPNs are great too. So VPNs, basically, the idea of a VPN is to have like your home local network, and then you can create a device that's on the internet, but it like bridges to your home local network, but using like strong security.
Right.
The downside to those, at least especially VPNs, are they require maintenance, and they require, to set them up correctly, first of all, to have the proper security. They usually require like an SSH key, which is fine. But like, and then if you have an Android phone, you have to set up your VPN, you put your SSH key in there, you have to manage it, enable it, disable it, or iOS, the same thing. It's just more maintenance, more overhead, for someone to
Right.
maintain. And just like anything else, that VPN server sitting on your router, it's exposed to the public internet. Now, it's typically internet safe, but every now and then there's a big security vulnerability that people come along. Like if you heard of Heartbleed, which was a problem in the Nginx service, or no, sorry, OpenSSL service, which like everything uses, ability
Yeah.
that like all internet servers use. So you have to keep them up to date. And
And
so I think,
mhm.
good.
Oh, I was gonna say, and basically by using a service that does this for you, people are kind of just outsourcing. Like you're, as I understand it, using a proxy, but we're outsourcing the security to you, where it's like your job to just be updating and making sure that OpenSSL is secured and making sure that you know there's not too much traffic going to any one person's printer and stuff like that.
Exactly. So the great thing is, one, you don't have to worry about security at all, because it's exactly you said. It's all on
Right.
the provider. Two, it's a lot easier to set up. So one thing I really focus on with OctoEverywhere is trying to make it like just so easy to set up. And with Octoprint, it has such a powerful plugin system. I mean, it's incredible how
Right.
powerful the system is. You literally install the plugin, click a link, give it a name, and you're done.
Yep.
And what happens behind the scenes is that the plugin establishes a WebSocket with our service, and the WebSocket is a connection that goes from your home internet out to the services, and it establishes basically, not to get too technical, but the router has a thing called a NAT, the network address translation, and it establishes a way that the service can talk back and forth to the printer, but in a secure, random way, the way that any other connection to like YouTube or something works. So
Gotcha.
your printer is reaching out to the server, and anything that's trying to poke it on the outside can't get in, because there's no open door for it to get in. It's only the printer reaches out, and then the server can talk back to it. So all the
Mm.
communication. So when you load Octoprint in your browser on OctoEverywhere, all that basically takes, your web browser sends a web request to the service. The service realizes it's you, has strong authentication based off your user account you signed in with, which we support, like sign in with like Google or Apple, which are strong authentication methods. And we also support like two-factor sign in with like a rolling
Right.
code, which is a really strong way of doing it.
Yep.
So you already have an account, it's strongly authenticated, secured. You sign in with that, and then it establishes that it takes that web request, bundles it up, sends it down to the plugin. The plugin emits it to Octoprint, takes the response, bundles it up, sends it back to the server, and the server spits it
Ah.
back out to you. So it's
So it's
basically like, you can think
significantly
of a
more
tunnel.
complicated than just you're running a proxy for them.
Yeah, well, there are
Interesting.
actually things called reverse HTTP proxies you could use,
Right.
but I didn't know of them at the time, honestly. I just built it because I was like, I could build this.
Wow.
And I built it in like a really efficient way, using flat buffers and like some serialization methods for the requests that are very optimized, and with a lot of compression to make it really, really
Right.
fast. Because my other goal was to make it like literally fast, like as fast as your home network.
Yeah.
And so yeah, so it's all custom built. And the best thing about that is that since it's custom built, it's also very tuned to Octoprint. Like there's a lot of things that are integrated into Octoprint that like just a generic HTTP proxy wouldn't get. So there's a lot of like very specialized things you get in there. The other thing I'll mention real quick is that I've
Yeah.
actually recently just added Klipper support. And so
Oh,
full
I was
Klipper
just gonna
support
ask.
with, oh yeah, with Moonraker, Fluid, Mainsail, whatever front end you use. And that integration I was talking about with Octoprint, I took a long time and refactored the entire plugin to make 90% of it common. And then there's basically two hosts. And so the hosts have the deep integration to each platform. And then there's the common code. So everything like the snapshots, the live streaming, the live stats you get when you look, like if you do
Wow.
a live share link, all those stats and everything now go to the common hosts. And Moonraker and Klipper, and there's like a million names for it, but I usually generically call it Klipper. But Klipper
Yeah.
means Moonraker fluid mainsail. It has full parity support with Octoprint. So
That's awesome. I
it's
was
on the
just
website
gonna
now.
ask.
Yeah, you could try it.
I'd
If you
love
go
to,
to
yeah.
OctoEverywhere.com/Klipper, you could try it. It's set fully up now. I have a few more or less like people externally I'm waiting on to do a few different things. Like an app developer that's really cool. He's integrating an into
Cool.
app for him, which isn't announced yet, but that'll come out soon. And then when all that stuff's out there, then I'm gonna make an announcement about a bigger announcement about it.
That is very
Anyone
cool
now, feel
and
free to go
exciting.
check it out.
Yeah, and I know that's one of the things that differentiates you guys is I think. Well, let's just say this. You guys just launched Gadget AI, and I'm really curious about that. Less because of the AI building, but I'm very curious because you're accumulating massive amounts of knowledge around print failures. And so I want to know, your thoughts about print failure detection, but I also have this feeling just running various different, whether it's Bamboo or all kinds of different print failure detections. I can say at least one of them, PrintPal, I really didn't like, and I got awful customer service and awful experience. So I'm happy to share that. My point being, I feel like spaghetti detection is one of those kind of Band-Aid solutions, and that we're going to have a much better solution in the future. And I know Prusha's talked about failure detection with being able to detect the amount of back pressure in the next extruder. I'm curious, one, what does it take to detect failures, and how is Gadget learning and developing? And also, do you feel like this is a temporary solution?
I think so the second half first. I think there'll probably always be they want to do sound incredible. And I think if they get them like working, like it's actually kind of also a little bit AI because it's like heuristic based. Like you want to like it'll be very subtle changes in back pressure and stuff like that that'll indicate a failure. And if you have a system that can compute enough power over time, maybe it can realize that there's an issue. But I don't think it'll be 100%. The same way that like webcam based is 100%. That said, there's a lot of research in like image classification for AI, which is basically like the generic way of doing all this and the way that all these systems work. And that industry as a whole is really rapidly advancing and becoming way more powerful in the tooling and everything. So, I mean, all of this 3D printing stuff will just ride along with that.
Right.
So then Gadget, so like I said, I work on side projects just because I really enjoy them. And AI was something I really thought was so cool. I didn't know anything about it. And I started Gadget almost about a year ago now, and I knew nothing about AI. So I dove in. There's a website that Google has. I can't remember the name of it, but I can link it in chat in a second. It is amazing. It talks about the fundamental of AI, more like the concepts and math beneath it, which when you're implementing a system, you don't really need to know. You just need the high level stuff, but it's so cool. It has like interactive visuals and all kinds of stuff. So I dove into AI, learned about it all. Gadgets based on like the latest research. AI stuff basically every like year has a new like best way of doing it, models as they call them. And so AI in general is like a generic way of computing math things. And then the way people take these puzzle pieces and put them together is what builds a model. And then the model is trained and then has like or like what makes the model smart, and that's what actually makes the computation happen. So every couple of years there's like a new model, there's a new way of doing it. So Gadget's built on the latest way of doing image classification, which is what this is. And yeah, so basically the other thing about AI is it's all about data. You just have to have a ton of data to train these things on. The way I abstractly think about AI, at least image classification, is the way these things work is that you basically have like I have over 100,000 images that Gadget uses, and it grows more and more every day as people submit new data into it, and it learns off all these images. And so basically, it like looks at a new image, and it's like, this is completely unique. I've never seen anything like this before because the skews a little different, the hue's a little different, the color's a little different, the filament's a different color, the bed's in a different position, whatever it is, they're all unique. And the AI's job is to say, is this image closer to this image that I like, this exact image that's spaghetti, or this exact image that's good? And it returns a probability of like, I think it's more one or the other. And that's basically how the system works. So that's how the AI system works. So then Gadget in general, I use Azure ML Studio, which is a super cool like ML learning as a service type thing where I control all the data, but I can basically unleash this massive like cluster of VMs that have these super powerful GPUs on them. The most expensive GPU is $20,000 per GPU, and it's a monster. I mean, it trains so fast. But even with that, it takes about 36 hours for Gadget to do a training, which means for it to look at all the data and then build a new model and output a new model and weights that represent like its current kind of intelligence, I guess you could maybe say. It's not really intelligent, but and then that gets uploaded to the service. And then my biggest goal with Gadget is I want to make it free on unlimited, because I try to make all my tooling that way. And I just think it's like a super crazy powerful thing to have like AI failure detection, so you can go get coffee and then it fails, it sends you a notification, you can go check and then like manually intervene if you want, or it'll automatically do it. So there's a set of servers around the world. All of OctoEverywhere is based on a worldwide footprint of servers, so I always have a server closest to people as possible. And these things, they go. I built this system where basically they try to max their loadout 100% of the time, and they will dynamically respond back to each client the next time they can talk to them. So if you're the only printer printing in the whole world, which never happens, but if you are, it'll just tell you, hey, send me images as fast as possible because I have a ton of overhead. So I'm just going to try to use them.
Wow.
So these things just chug images. Gadget's actually able to process about 7 million images a day now. And it's something like 5 terabytes of data. That's terabytes, not bits of data per day. It's a ton of data. And basically it's just sitting there constantly chewing through these images. I actually just upgraded the servers like a week ago, so they're more powerful now. But yeah, so that's what it does. Your printer every so often sends it an image. It says it looks good, looks bad. There's a whole bunch of other heuristics around, like when you get through prediction, like it can be kind of there's a lot of like noise in it. So you'll get like good predictions, you'll get a really bad one, like get good ones. Right. And so there's a lot of logic around like kind of filtering that out, smoothing that out, making decisions about when do I actually want to tell the user. When am I confident enough to think there's spaghetti there that I want to warn the user? And then when am I confident enough that there might actually be a failure? I would actually want to pause the print, which are just kind of then decisions downstream of the AI system.
Yeah.
And so then all that comes together and gives you Gadget. And when I built Gadget, it also then took me about 2 months to build all the website stuff for it, because I didn't realize how much website logic I would need in terms of like quick view, which is a way of like quickly looking at your printer on OctoEverywhere instead of loading the full portal. That entirely spawned because of Gadget, because I needed a way to basically let people quickly look at it, have a pause button, have a go in button, have a report button. So that whole concept came about because of Gadget, and then also spawned a great feature on its own. So anyway, it was a lot of work. It was a crazy journey, but it was really fun.
When you talk about all this cloud computing power, what I don't understand, and having talked with the guys over at Obico, this stuff is expensive. How I fully, completely commend your effort to make all the tools free, and it's not even a freemium. It's like, I think one printer, all the tools are free. If you have multiple printers, fine. Which I think, makes a lot of sense, because you're targeting, hey, if you're using this for commercial, it's one thing. If you're a hobbyist, it's free. So huge amount of respect to you. How can you offer it for free? I know how much cloud computing can cost, and these don't sound like cheap servers.
No, magic is I just employ unicorns to make magic.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. So AI computation, each image takes about, all my current servers, the way they're currently set up, it takes about 300 milliseconds to process a single image. So, it's doing whatever I said, 7 million some images a day. And each one of those images takes 300 milliseconds to like get a result for. Yeah. And then you got to think about like just even the amount of web requests it takes to, call 7 million and transfer that data up and all that processing. It does take a lot. And that's why I built the system to be kind of dynamic. And so that if a lot of people were using it, it would basically give everyone a fair share. What it does, it just makes the interval between checks longer. So I try to keep it around 20 seconds. So it typically checks about 20 seconds, but in like, there's a huge cyclic wave of a day to day of people printing, it comes across Europe and North America, and then it kind of tails off a little bit when it's the suns of the ocean. Right. And so if you're printing when the suns of the ocean, you're actually getting faster predictions because the system's dynamic based on that. And so I tried to kind of keep it fair in that regard. And so OctoEverywhere is entirely supported by there's like a supporter role, or perks. I call them supporter perks now. It's kind of evolved through the years, but and basically it's just a way of like, if you like the service, then you can pay to help support it. And everything is supported through there. The whole service is supported by the community, basically. And yeah, like you said, so on OctoEverywhere, I'm able to do, I said this in pre-show, but I try to make it as free as possible, this weird like phrase I use. And my goal is that you should be able to do everything you want to do with your printer for free. So you can connect up to 5 printers and have the full remote access. So it's like unlimited data and stuff like that. The webcams are the biggest part of the streaming. And so the webcam is limited to 20 seconds, and then you can refresh that 5 times within 5 minutes. That's just so people don't like, constantly stream their video webcam, because the webcam streams like 8 megabits a second. So it's like, that's like a lot of data. I mean, that's like higher than most Twitch streams. So it's a lot of bandwidth, and bandwidth is really expensive in cloud computing, as you were saying.
Right.
So yeah, the free account should be everything you need for free. That's my goal. And then if you like it, if you want higher limits, then you can support. And I was like, well, if you're going to pay me money, I want to give you a little bit of higher limits. I'll raise the caps up, because there's way less people that support than people that use it for free. So I'm happy to give those people more overhead. So if you support, you get longer webcam streams. Gadget actually has a faster like interval time. It's a little faster for supporters. Basically every feature of OctoEverywhere has like some like perk you get if you're a supporter, just to thank you for helping to pay for the entire service for everyone. And yeah, that's how I manage it. It's all based on that. And it's all this like balancing act I do between, like, I adjust the thresholds as like, if I get more supporters, then I'll like make things freer. And if I get less support, then sometimes I have to cut back occasionally. I mean, that doesn't happen often. I try not to go back. I only try to go forward. But yeah, that's basically how that's the whole model. And luckily, because the community is great, I'm able to it all works out and get to free. A cat like wander in your room or something? Oh, you're muted.
I was going to say, fortunately, I have this fancy mute button, so no one had to hear me sneezing. That is an interesting dichotomy of the 3D printing community and also the Bitcoin community, which again, they're very similar, is as much as everything is free, people are really willing to pay for things that are worthwhile. Like there's this guy, Andreas Antonopoulos, who does a lot of like Bitcoin education and training. And then it came out in an interview where people were like, oh, you must be a billionaire. You've been talking about Bitcoin since like 2011. He's like, actually, I had to sell all my Bitcoin because my mom's house got he had a like really sad story. And then like overnight, people donated over $1 million worth of Bitcoin, which today is, and you say to yourself, like, that's a really interesting, bizarre behavior, right? And in 3D printing as well, like it's so interesting that people are willing to pay. And I think they're willing to pay if you ask in the right way, which is like, hey, support if you want. Whereas if it's like paid models, people have varying opinions on cults and things like that, and taking a cut of creators, creations. And that's really, really interesting. How much do you actually get to 3D print between your 2 jobs and being a dad? And
I 3D print a decent amount. My favorite thing is practical print. So I don't 3D print like I have a few gadget models and stuff just because they're fun. But my favorite thing to do is I keep this little. This is my handy little ruler. It's just a little metal. It's got the metric system, the correct system, and then the wrong system. And I just use this. It's the perfect little size. And I use this to just print things that I need. Like these shelves behind me, those little like pegs that go in that are like plastic and they break and fall off and stuff. I had one, the shelf kind of got distorted, so the peg wasn't working. And I just modeled out a little replacement peg that was longer and bigger, whatever, like specific for that case, and printed it in like 30 minutes because it's so little, and it took me like 5 revisions, but then now it works. And so that's my favorite kind of print, is like little things around the house. When I had a baby, we had twins about 4 years ago, and there's this camera that's really common on Amazon, and we had a crib that's pretty common, like the model of it. And I printed this thing that fully holds the camera and then fully like fits exactly on the corner of this crib, like designed exactly to both, and has a little zip tie you put over the top of it and stuff. And I put that model out there. I think it's on Thingiverse because it was like years ago. And I was like, if you have this camera and this crib, this thing works perfectly to hold the camera in a place where you can see the baby exactly and everything. It was really great. So those are my favorite kinds of prints. And then now our kid's a little older, I've been printing fun stuff for them. One of my sons is really into whales, so I've been printing a big whale for him, and my other son's into ducks, so I've been printing a big duck for him.
So much like that. Am I muted again? No
No,
way.
you're good now.
Okay.
Maybe it's the camera sync. Yep.
Um, so I love like Bension, who I think is watching right now. Hey Bension, we love to like compare dad prints, you know. So like I printed out. I support Clock Spring on Patreon, and he has this which Bension told me about. It's like called the Gargle Get In. It's like a gluggle jug. So when you pour water, it goes like boop 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 boop.
Oh,
And the
that's
kids just go
cool.
crazy for it. I love it. It's really
I'll
really
have to
great.
look that up.
One
Yeah.
thing that surprised me, there I only see one printer in the background there. There's got to be more. Come on.
Yeah. Yeah, no, we just moved this house a little while ago. That's my
Okay.
original one. I actually, that one's sitting in here because that was my first victim of Klipper. It took me a
Nice.
long time, but it's an original Ender 3 V2, Ender 3 Pro, not the V2, the
Okay.
Ender 3 Pro, and it doesn't have the bootloader on it, so it's really annoying to flash Klipper onto. You
Right.
basically have to like plug in the jumpers and do it. So I actually end up buying an Ender 3 V2 tube that you could just stick the SD card in. So it's in here because I was trying to get it done. But yeah, so that's my original one. It's kind of my like history museum now behind me. And then in another room of the house, I have a Prusa, the M3KS, whatever it is, and then the Ender 3 V2. And I've been thinking about getting a few more because there's always these like hardware things that are specific to printers that are really annoying. And to try to help people and support. My support system is like completely open. The button on the website that submits a ticket, all those go directly to me. So I do all the support and I respond. And so I know of every single printer that exists and every single problem that's ever existed, like any kind of conflict between Octoprint and Marlin, because all the printers have their own little flavors of Marlin that are always just a little bit different to break something. So yeah, I've worked around a lot of that with over the time.
So now that you're on Klipper, what do you think? Because you're very active, in the. I think you're also a supporter, or OctoEverywhere supports Gina. I think I saw your logo on her website. So you're like supporting the development of OctoEverywhere, but you've got to maybe start. You're probably feeling a little conflicted now.
Yeah. Yeah,
Talk to me.
I haven't been able to financially support her yet. I've
Mhm.
been wanting to, and I've talked to her. Gina's amazing. I've talked to her. I was
Amazing.
actually just talking to her this morning on Discord. We chat and stuff. She's amazing, and I've told her for a long time I want to support her, but it's all about that balance of the service and the hosting costs and all that. So, but I try to support in other ways, through like I've made a few contributions to Octoprint and whatever. But yeah, I don't, so someone asked earlier, actually, and I'll answer this in chat real quick. So for people who don't know, Marlin is like the firmware that runs on your printer, and Klipper is a firmware that runs on your printer, but Marlin is self-contained. So you stick an SD card in with a G-code on it, and it reads the G-code and then moves the stepper motors as it needs to, and it's all based on the little computer in your printer. The idea behind Klipper originally was that the computer in the printer is very, very weak, like very weak compared to anything you can even imagine, and that you could do more powerful things if you have a more powerful computer. So Klipper is a firmware that runs on the printer, but it's not self-contained. It has to have another stronger computer plugged into it that's sending it the commands. So the stronger computer, which is usually Raspberry Pi or whatever, like the Sonic Pad for Creality is just like the Raspberry Pi in a box. That's reading the G code. It's doing more advanced like physics modeling on it and stuff like that with some of the different like it's really kind of amazing what these firmwares do to make the prints look so clean. And then it's sending those stepper motor instructions that are specific to like your physicality of your printer to the printer. That's where it started from. And so that's Klipper. And then there's another in the Klipper ecosystem, there's a thing called Moonraker. And Klipper runs on, let's say, Raspberry Pi. Klipper runs on the Raspberry Pi as a service. And then Moonraker is another service that runs on your Raspberry Pi, and it interacts with Klipper. And Moonraker gives developers an API surface that they can develop to. And so Moonraker is just a service. There's no UI to it. Then the UI you select is either Fluid or Mainsail, the big two. I'm sure there's others. And those are basically just front end. So those are basically like the website your browser gets. And those interact with Moonraker, which then interacts with Klipper. So when you say Klipper, that's the whole like ecosystem of Klipper. Whereas on the Octoprint side, well, hold on the Marlin side of things, Marlin is self-contained. Octoprint can interact directly with Marlin over a COM port through the USB. And so Octoprint is both the back end and front end. So it's both Moonraker and Klipper it's Moonraker and Fluid or Mainsail. It's together. It's all one thing. Also, it should be said that Octoprint works with Klipper just fine. So there's a plugin for Octoprint because Octoprint has an abstraction in its communication layer, and this is a big thing. Octoprint has this thing called Octoprint on Air, which is a podcast unit or it's a video. It's does monthly, and the big thing for like V2 is she's trying to refactor the comm layer to make it more abstract and universal. So there's a plugin already for Octoprint that lets it work with Klipper and gives it like the full Octoprint experience, but like with Klipper behind it instead of Marlin. So basically you have Klipper, and then you have the thing that runs on this Raspberry Pi is called Clippy, which is kind of funny.
Yeah.
So you have Klipper and Clippy, and then you can either have Octoprint talking to Klipper, or you can have Moonraker, Fluid, and Mainsail talking to Clippy. And so that's kind of the whole ecosystem. Octoprint is incredibly mature and is incredibly powerful in terms of its plugins. I mean, it has so much. And if you want something different, there's a plugin that will do it. And if not, Jim will make it for you. I mean, there's a plugin for everything. It's incredible. And it's so customizable. The power Octoprint, the power that I assume Dina did it mostly, but of like, it can change the UI, it can inject in the UI, it can change the server. It could just do anything. These plugins are so powerful. It's so cool. Klipper is super cool, and Marlin. And the other thing I should mention is I know Marlin recently has been adding a lot of the advanced physics stuff that Klipper's been doing in the firmware itself, running on the 3D printers. Because over time, CPUs always get faster. This just always happens, right? So they can do more of this on there. So they've added a lot of it too. So they kind of compete now. Fluid and Mainsail and Moonraker are very new imaginations of how to control a 3D printer. I think they're really cool. They're really fast, which is really nice. They install as like PWAs, so they like kind of cache themselves locally, so they load really fast, which is really nice. The thing though I would say is that they're really fast and really powerful and really tuned specifically to Klipper. But they are what they are. There's the plugin model is much different. There's no way to extend the UI. There's no way, at least at this point in time, to do any of that stuff. So if you like what they are, then they're great. They're fabulous. Go use them if you have a Klipper-based computer. Octoprint is amazing because it can work on all kinds of different things like Klipper, Marlin, whatever, and it's extremely powerful. The only thing I'd say against Octoprint is just that the overall UI is just, I like the UI, and there's a ton of plugins that will theme it, but natively, since the UI isn't like mobile first, for example, like there's plugins that make it work on mobile, the plugins just never get exactly the level of quality that like the full thing will. And so, but I think that's, something on their radar, to refresh the UI, probably add a native first mobile experience, which then plugins will be able to augment to do more things with. But, so it's just a little bit there. Overall, personally, I still prefer Octoprint, but, I think it's just great. I'm so excited to open up OctoEverywhere to both, because you can have both. You can have two Octoprint printers and two Klipper printers, or two Moonraker printers, whatever you want in the same account. So I think it's just cool. It's just more power for more people.
Yeah. So a lot to unpack there. I did check out the Marlin input shaping. It did look to me, from teaching tech's kind of overview of it, that it's still very much not, it's not ready for prime time, I think. And part of that, I think, is because, as you said, Marlin is really trying to not need a full Raspberry Pi to run it. They want to run on the printer. Even if that printer is running a 32-bit board, it's not running a 64-bit ARM processor like a Raspberry Pi.
Yeah.
But also, my thing with OctoEverywhere is I didn't realize how, and I love OctoEverywhere, and Gina, you're awesome, and the fact that you do this for free is awesome. So I'm going to say something, a word that's harsh, but slow and unresponsive until I went to Klipper. And then same hardware, Raspberry Pi 4B, and I didn't realize, I tell she who will not be named to turn on the printer, and then by the time I get over to my keyboard and I make a desktop app for all my printers. So I have a desktop app connected to a Stream Deck now, which is kind of cool. By the time I press that button, it's already loading, right? And then 10 seconds later. Whereas with my Octoprint installs, it's like a minute, sometimes 2 minutes. That may just be me and all the plugins that I've installed on it. But that was a huge thing for me, and it's not just the starting up, right? It's like the requests and the sending this and the changing tabs and going to all the different, it's just so responsive, which was interesting.
Yeah. So that's all the fact that it's just a new thing. Well, first of all, plugins and Octoprint can really slow it down, because it's always the trade-off. It's like the problem of old Windows. you give people power to integrate into the system more deeply, they can do bad things and slow it down. When
Right.
Octoprint's loading, it like calls all the plugins. They can optionally have all these callbacks, and a plugin could sit there and just spin, and it will just prevent Octoprint from ever starting. So if they're doing things that take a long time on the threads and stuff, that could be a problem. So in OctoEverywhere, I try to optimize all that, obviously, and make it not a problem. But the more plugins you have, it could be worse. Not necessarily though. And the other thing is just that Octoprint's UI overall is based on like not an old style, but like a 4-year ago web style, where Fluid and Moonraker are based on very modern frameworks because they were built like a year or so ago.
Right.
So one big thing is like I was saying, Fluid actually, I think I keep main some I do this too. Fluid installs as a PWA, and as a PWA, it basically means that all the code, the whole website's like on your computer, and basically all it has to do is establish a WebSocket with Moonraker, and then it's ready. So you open Fluid, it's on your computer. It loads like that. Octoprint always transfers from the server every time. I've actually done things in OctoEverywhere to optimize the latency of Octoprint, and myself, I live in Seattle, and the closest server I have for OctoEverywhere is in San Francisco. I can actually load Octoprint faster over OctoEverywhere than I can locally if I use my local device, because I do like a lot of caching and stuff I've added into OctoEverywhere to make it faster, and Octoprint has caching it too and stuff, and that's all stuff that can just be worked out over time. And yeah, Jim, I'm firing off the hip a little bit. Jim would know a million times more details. I'd say what I'm saying is probably 95% correct. I'm probably incorrectly summarizing some things, so feel free to correct me in chat if I'm wrong.
Yeah, for those listening to the audio, Jim is here, who's developed like tons of plugins, and he says highly recommend UI customizer for the more mobile responsive, and also there's some other plugins that are going to be improved. We can actually add more people here, but I think you're doing a great job fielding the questions.
Yeah.
But Jim, you're welcome if you want to come in.
Yeah.
What was the last thing that you printed? I want to ask a few of my rapid fire questions before I open it up to the audience. But while you're listening in the audience, go ahead and type up your questions because there is a delay. So yeah, send over some of your.
And I saw a few in chat I want to answer to. I'm trying to keep in my head, just general things. My most recent print was I saw this TikTok of this guy that has this it's like a print in place. It's like a casino thing. You pull back and it spins these two little things and like makes like a dice roll. I thought it looked really cool, but I can't get it to print because it has all these like very small little features on the first layer, and my printer keeps messing it up, and so I can't get the first layer down. So I've tried like 5 times, and I don't have enough time to tune my printers and keep them like super healthy. So but that's the last thing I printed. I think you're muted, or there's a delay. I can't hear you.
Right.
Chat, can you hear me?
I was talking and making all these witty comments. It's muting me when I
I saw you. I was like, I'm not sure if you sneezed and you're making weird facial movements.
You just need something to work right now. What's your go-to printer?
Well, my Prusa is the only one that's really set up fully. I'm really intrigued though. I want to print something big on my Klipper Ender 3v2. The problem with Ender 3v2 is it doesn't have auto bed leveling, and that is just such a pain. Just having to sit there and screw those little things is so annoying, and it just makes me not want to use it. I mean, it's a great printer for its price point. I think it was like $100-$200. I mean, that's why I bought it, because I just needed something to run Klipper easily. It's a great entry level printer, but after using any kind of auto bed leveling, it's just like such a pain.
Let me tell you, I have become progressively more spoiled and corrupted by all the cool new printers that I get to test, which is total honor and blessing.
I can imagine.
And then when one doesn't have something like the Voron 2.4 doesn't have a filament runout sensor, and then you're just like, how am I ever? You forget the humble beginnings, right? You forget so fast the human brain acclimates.
Yeah.
But it's funny how these things that were so kind of commonplace. What are you most excited about right now in life? Period. Doesn't have to be about 3D printing. And also, what are you most excited about in the maker scene right now?
Oh man, what intriguing questions. Man, this sounds kind of, I don't know, generic, but I think in life the most thing I'm excited about is I see a million TikToks about like, there's a huge mess in your basement, but in like n number of years it's gone, you know? And so I've just been trying to be like very in the moment and present with my kids, because I've already been at
Yes.
the point where like they were little enough I could hold them in like this, you know, like in a cradle for those who can't see. And then now I have to hold them like over my shoulder because they're too big to carry, you know? And so I just want to like try to remember just the little, like, you know, just day-to-day weekend activities and stuff with that. So that's kind of what I'm looking at right now. In the 3D printing world, I'm super excited about Klipper, and Klipper and getting that out there just to expand OctoEverywhere beyond that. And then I've actually been thinking about, I've never been to any of the Rip Rap or Maker Faire
Yep.
kind of things.
Yeah.
And I've been thinking about going to one as like OctoEverywhere. I'm not sure which one I'd go to, but it just kind of sounds fun. So I know there's some in the Seattle area, and obviously those would be easy targets for me since I live here. But I think I might try to pick one of those this year and, you know, make arrangements
cool.
to go and have like just a booth just to talk to people. I like to talk to people, obviously.
Yeah.
So
I think it's
I think it'd
really
be fun.
cool and surprising that you haven't been to one. And it just shows, we didn't talk about how long have you been running OctoEverywhere?
Yeah, it's I think it was 2021, if I remember right.
Okay.
It was
So
like,
that
yeah.
supports the point that I wanted to make, which is it just shows how much this hobby grew during the pandemic. I got into it in 2020, like very beginning of 2020, I think. Middle of 2020. It doesn't matter. Got in 2020. I think so many of us got in, and it is, you know, one of the reasons I think that we've created so much community around this, because it is a hobby of like you sitting and tinkering with your printer and printing your own stuff. And we've created places to upload the files and share the files, and Discord servers and live podcasts, because for a lot of us, the community aspect was really important for the last 2 years. And I think it's
absolutely.
amazing that you're like such an active member of this community. And yet you've done it all online, is how you're connecting with your audience, your customers, your peers.
Yeah. And it's not like work. I mean, I enjoy doing it. I mean, the Octoprint community on Discord is amazing. Your community is really good. I have one October. I almost didn't make an October Discord because I didn't want to have yet another like fractured community. But because of like, I support Discord DMs as notifications, and there's this weird Discord thing where for the bot to message you, you have to be in the same server as it. And so that's the only reason I originally made the server, is because you have to be in that server for the bot to be able to DM you the notifications. So, but now, you know, it's just, there's people chatting here, and we kind of have our own little subset of fun things. Oh, there you go. Oh, November 2020. Okay, yeah. So I did it in the summer of 2020 because I did it when we went on a vacation for like 2 months. Well, it was like we went like away to a house that was in a different state. And I that's why I built the prototype and I put it out. And then I can't remember if November was when it crashed. I think November was my like remake of it, when it was like better built than the prototype.
Wow, that's really cool. It's amazing. It's also amazing. So I came from learning, right? I have written books on accelerated learning and speed reading and memory and stuff like that. And I mentioned in a recent video, like I go through hobbies like you wouldn't believe, like acro yoga, piano, crochet, guitar, Russian. I've gone through about 15 hobbies in the last 7-8 years. And yet this one has staying power because it's so diverse. And there's also so many different rabbit holes, right? Like Russian, you can go down Russian music, Russian literature, Russian comedy and slang, Russian history. I went down all the rabbit holes, and that's it. There's like 5 of them. This one, you can go down the design one. And then next week I have a podcast guest who we're going to go into polymer science. And then you can go into engineering. You can go into building your own printers. You can go into the firmware part. And all the while, like every day I'm printing something new. So even if it's just what you're interested in is downloading stuff and printing it, every single day there are new models. Which is super cool.
I'll have to like and subscribe to this podcast to get that future entertaining content.
Hint, hint, hint. Thank you. Yes, as a YouTuber now, my entire self-worth is dictated by 2 numbers: likes and subscribes. Someone in the comments, someone in the comments said, "Why are you wearing a beanie? Show us your crazy hair." I feel like we should reward the live viewers, and a bunch of people just hit the like button. So this is where we're at with the growing out the hair project. This is for the audio people. This is incentive to tune in and see me with.
Oh, it's like for the audio people, it's like 4 feet long. It's
glorious.
It's amazing.
Just really
I grew my hair when the
you know what it
pandemic
looks like?
started,
It looks
'cause I
like
thought
I
it'd be
was
fun.
building my Voron, and then I just like hit the wire the wrong way. And
No,
actually, that
absolutely.
happened to me as a kid. I put pliers in an outlet, and this is what I looked like after.
Oh yeah,
So tune in
I
next time
electrocuted
on.
myself at least 3 times as a kid. So
Oh
all
man,
right, I want to fire through. I saw some questions.
yeah, let's do it.
Someone in chat a while back asked what outside is. I'm not sure. Someone asked if OctoEverywhere runs on AWS. It does not. I originally ran on Azure, and Azure and AWS have very similar pricing models, but they're extremely expensive compared to some of the other ones. So I actually run it on DigitalOcean. It uses like probably 10 different services all up: Cloudflare, DigitalOcean, Stripe, PayPal, a thing called ChargeBee, like a whole bunch of
Yeah.
services all together build it. But yeah, so DigitalOcean, great hosting, love them. Pros and cons of Octoprint to Klipper, I think we kind of covered that.
Yep.
You can rewind. Let's see, there was someone towards the bottom.
What camera do you recommend for OctoEverywhere Gadget?
Oh yeah, that was one at the top. Yeah, so ideally anything. The goal of Gadget is to be universal. Basically, I don't think it really matters about the camera. I think it's more about like the lighting, the clarity, the angle. The goal, like I said, is to do anything. I have seen it detect some like really low light kind of lights out, in the room, kind of dark shots, which is pretty incredible. I didn't think it'd be able to do that, but it can. And the more data it learns from the more variety of sources, the better it'll get. So there's ways to report the feedback of Gadget, either successful or non-successful, on the website. And so when you do that, it submits data into that data pool, and it will then continue to learn from that. So if your camera is kind of like a very special setup, like it's a very unique setup, it might have a little more trouble. The best thing you could do is have like decent lighting, in focus, on the print. Make sure the entire printer is within the print frame. The entire print is within the frame. I know for some things like nozzle cameras, that's not possible. Like nozzle cameras work too. And yeah, so just try to get like, there's a like a tips section in the Gadget on the website, and it just lists basically what I just said. But yeah, just try to do that stuff like to your best ability, and then it should work. Keep firing the feedback to it, and it rebuilds its model every 2 days. It accumulates all the data and rebuilds the model and republishes every 2 days. So it just keeps going, keeps growing, keeps learning.
That is awesome. Other questions we have here. People are loving the hair. Looks like he's in space. Hair looks like electrocuted kid from Jurassic Park. Yes. A few more questions here, and then we will wrap. Yeah. Are you reporting missed failures via the web UI?
There is a way to do it via the web UI. Yeah. So there's 2 ways of doing it. So if Gadget misses a failure, you obviously don't get a notification about it. Then in OctoEverywhere, when you on your dashboard, there's like a blue button on the bottom of every print that says Quick View. And that is what I was saying earlier. It's a way of like, because Octoprint takes a second to load, Quick View is like instant, and you get the full camera stream and all your stats. There's a button at the bottom of that says Report Gadget Miss Failure. And if you click that, it lets you like give it a reason why and stuff, and then you hit done. And what that does is it captures the context of that, captures the current image of your printer, and sends it off to the data pool to be like put into the data and then computed upon. And if Gadget incorrectly classifies something as a failure, so Gadget also does more in spaghetti. Gadget can detect like some layer issues, some kind of like warts and stuff. Basically, it's any kind of failure I've been training it on. It's spaghetti is obviously by and large the easiest one to identify because it's very obvious. Even things like clogged printers, like the little blob that gets stuck, it can detect that in some cases. So anyways, if it incorrectly does something, all the notifications have a link on them that say like, was I wrong or something. If you click that, you could file feedback and say this wasn't a failure. And so then that goes in like the negative bucket, and like it reinforces the other way. So you can teach it both ways. And they're both, I go through them by hand to make sure that, they're correct. So you can't just sit there and spam the incorrect answer and, and confuse it. So that's like file feedback. It'll get smarter based on your setup. It'll get smarter. Like, the more data you give it about your particular view, the better it'll get for you, and the better you'll make it for just the general community. So,
wow. Okay. That is interesting. And there are a lot of questions coming in now, so I'm going to fire through them really quick. I mentioned before that you and Ken over at Obico have both been really just upstanding, awesome, cool people. Someone asked, I guess they missed that I said it, but they asked, how do you feel about Obico? Do you think of them as a competitor or fellow hobbyists? And I think you have a great perspective on this, so I wanted to share it.
Yeah.
I mean, have you
Yeah, you
share it.
mentioned that. I didn't actually respond to it. Yeah, Ken is amazing. Obico is amazing. I use Spaghetti Detective. I still use Spaghetti Detective. I run them both. You can run both Obico
Yep.
and Octo Everywhere. Um, they're incredible. I used them way before October existed. I have like incredible respect for them. They
That's
run
so
a
cool.
great service and keep integrating features, keep implementing features. Like it's a great thing. Yeah, I tell people like try both, pick whichever one you like better.
Right.
Whichever, I mean, there's a subtle differences, subtle little flavor things. You might like the UI
Right.
of one better than the other, whatever it is. Pick the one you like, the one that works for you better, and go with it. And the fact that there's two gives you choices even more. I mean, there's like Astro Print and Simply Print and a few
Yep.
others. Some of them are more oriented towards like printer farms, but there's other ones too.
That's
Tail
awesome.
scale stuff like that.
Yeah, and I love that approach, and Ken said the same thing about you. And when people asked, because as I said, you guys supported a video and they supported a video, I said that for me, Obico has more experience with the print failure detection, but you guys are better with a lot of printers. If I want to click through my printers quickly in an app, and also it's way more affordable to use OctoEverywhere if you have more than one or two printers.
Yeah.
So I think you're catering to different people. Like the Obico is the guy who has the one printer and really needs that print to go well. Whereas OctoEverywhere, I'm using it for this mess that's behind me,
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. That's a great way to think about it.
Last question here. Rav Mehmad wants to know, where can we find more content about OctoEverywhere?
Well, that's a great question. I have a Twitter feed, so I am OctoEverywhere. I do socials to my best ability, which isn't great. And so that includes I have a Twitter feed I mostly use. I'm not super gung ho on Twitter, but it's where I am. So Twitter and Discord. Our Discord is really great,
Right.
and a great community. The website hopefully will give you a ton of information. I am the web designer. I'm also the code implementer, developer, support, DevOps. If the website goes down, it's me. So my weakest trait, I think, is web design. It takes me a long time to get something I'm like somewhat happy with. So I try my best, but I think it could be better. But anyways, the website, the Discord, if you want to chat,
Yeah, I'm in the
ask me any
Discord as
questions you
well.
want. The
The Discord
website is a great resource. And then this either in the Discord or the support button at the bottom of the page, those all go directly to me and I respond to all of them. It's like an email based back and forth thing. So, feel free to ask any questions, whatever, in there.
That is awesome. Quinn, it's been such a pleasure chatting. I think this went almost too well for the first episode. So I want to thank you for being an awesome guest. And guys,
I can
I
pour my
literally
coffee on myself or something.
I literally reached out to Quinn and I was like, hey, so it's live, it's video. I haven't ever done it before and I have no idea if anyone's going to show up. And he's like, yeah, sure, I'd love to. So
Let's do it.
huge
Yeah.
respect to you and everything you're doing.
Yeah, no problem.
And thank you to everyone tuning in. It was a lot of fun with the questions. And I think we'll do this again next week. So thanks everyone for tuning in.
Yeah, thank you.
All right. And let's see if I know how to end this stream. Here we go. We're going to do the fancy
final
outro. Here we go.
Thanks for tuning in to the Infill Podcast. For show notes or links to anything mentioned in today's episode, visit thenextlayer.com. If you enjoyed the episode, please don't forget to leave us a review wherever you're listening, or click the like button to let us know. And consider subscribing to The Next Layer on YouTube so you can tune in live and participate in the next conversation. We'll see you on The Next Layer.